How's it going, everyone? I'm Carson. So this presentation, I'm going to be walking you through just a great four-course meal paired with a different wine on each dish. I know we've had a lot of wine presentations, but I think this one's a bit different, and I hope you'll learn a lot on this. So I'm excited. Let's get into this. So we're going to start with the snack, which is meant to cleanse your palate before the three dishes. So we'll have the snack, then the appetizer, then the main course meal, plus the dessert. And the main thing about this, we're going over four different wines per each category, all meant to tailor to the specific tastes of the dishes. So let's get into it. Let's go to the snack. So for the snack, we'll be having a champagne called Delamont paired with salted Ruffles chips. I prefer all dress, but it's okay for this pairing. This is the chips you want. So this is a classic pairing because the fat from the chips offsets the acidity of the champagne. It's a perfect snack to ready your palate for the rest of the meal, for the rest of the wines you're about to have. So yeah, it's a great snack to have before all the meals. So the champagne is actually a blend of three different grapes, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier. And it's very rare. Not many wines mix that many grapes, so it's pretty interesting. Let's touch a bit on the history, eh? All right, so their entire history stretches back to like I think over 250 years ago, where it was founded by a vineyard owner by the name of Francis de la Motte, along with his two boys. This operation is actually the fifth champagne house in the world, and that's pretty cool to think about. Like this is the fifth place to actually serve champagne or like distribute champagne on that level. So that's pretty interesting. But oh man, I couldn't imagine running it with my dad. I think he'd yell at me a bit too much when we're harvesting the grapes, but that's okay. So let's move over to the appetizer. So for this one, we'll be pairing some Sancerre wine with the roasted goat cheese salad. So the wine is made from the Sauvignon Blanc grape. The taste is slightly grassy, gunflinty, whatever that means, lemony, and it's a very fresh taste. And it's just all in all, it's a great compliment to the creaminess and like slightly grassy flavor of the warmed goat cheese. Beautiful compliment. And the acidity of the wine, again, it cleans your mouth for every bite that comes next. So if you take a sip after every bite, or however much you want to have, every bite will be as good as before. And then the salad dressing on the salad. It's a very simple French dressing. Anyone could make it with shallots, Dijon mustard, and olive oil. I haven't tried it yet. It looks pretty good though, so I might try to. And then the history of this. So the wine's been around since like ancient times. The first like historical discovery being in 582, and then when it was like discovered, it was to be produced more seriously in this 12th century. Sorry. So in the 12th century, that's when they really took it to another level of production. And then like since then, many diseases, as you know, have destroyed many crops of the like more commonly used Pinot Noir grapes. And since then, the grapes used in Sancerre, Sauvignon Blanc, those grapes have been planted more frequently all around. And if you look down Sancerre town, it's a beautiful city, a beautiful town. It's pretty small, and it's got a lot of farmland, vineyards. Yeah, it's a great town. Very pretty. All right, now on to the main course. So the wine we're going to be using here is called Reserve Montredon, and it's paired steak Diane with haricots vert and roasted potatoes. Looks so good. Oh my gosh. That looks so good. Okay. This wine is a blend of Grenache and Syrah grapes, and it's from the Côte d'Iron area. So the wine itself, it's a very, very rich and very intense flavor, so it really just cuts smoothly through like the creaminess of the steak sauce, and also like really pairs well with the haricots, or the beans people call it, because there's some greenness in the wine, so it really brings each other out. It's great. And then the grapes themselves, like the Grenache and Syrah grapes, are like a blend of a berry fruit and green pepper and like spice. Yeah, it's all in all, it's a great balance for the main meal, which is all those flavors really. Um, okay, moving on to a bit of the history of it now. So the vines, the Maordon vines, were first discovered 2,000 years ago, and the reason why they're named the Maordon is because they were planted at the bottom of the hill, and since it was on their property, they didn't even know that, but they found it out. So it was recognized by them, and they took property of it. And then so when it was officially recognized as like a vineyard and like a proper place to grow grapes, it was very good, uh, very good I don't know, place to grow them. Very good. I don't even know the word for it, but yeah, it's a great place to grow the grapes. That's my point. So when it was recognized as a great place to grow as a vineyard, a nobleman took ownership of it, and then later passed it down to the Matteo family, who are actually descendants of the noblemen. All right, now the time we've all been waiting for, my favorite time. It's the dessert. So for this one, I chose the wine, the Saturday. So this wine in particular, it's made from Semillon grapes, and we're gonna pair it with cannelle. Don't know how to say it. I think cannelle. I don't know. It's a slightly sweet cake with a caramelized crust, but it's very light and fluffy on the inside. Looks so good. And since it's not like overly sweet, it pairs very well with a glass of Sauternay. And like so, the actual taste of the grape, it's like a bit of a dried fruit sweetness, like an apricot almost. Um, but it is pretty sweet still. So and then some acidity comes from it also, and the acidity and like the apricot sweetness really amplifies the caramel found in the cake itself. So let's look a bit on the history. All right, so let's get into the history of it. So it was made in 1847. Well, okay, so there's two stories for it. So in the 1836 story, the guy, like the man who owned the chateau, just said, "Okay, I'm not gonna harvest it until after the autumn rains." And then when the sun came out, like the noble rot started to develop, and he harvested it then. But the one I believe in, the one I like a lot more, is like so the dealer and like the person from the chateau who actually owned it was in Russia for whatever, I don't know, and so he came back, but he was delayed a lot because of the weather, and so he left strict instructions to the people running the chateau that do not harvest until he gets back, and so when he got back from his trip to Russia, the autumn rain the autumn rain already happened, and the crop had nicely developed noble rot. So I like that story better. Um, but yeah, so that's the history on the wine. All right, so this is really important if you just you want to get into wine. You just want to have a better understanding of what pairs well with what. So if you would like to know a bit more about this, is a slide for you. So the first tip is so it should be more acidic. So like the wine should be more acidic than the food, so it clears your palate, and like it'll allow continuous enjoyment of the next bite. So the acidity of the wine itself will create or it won't coat your mouth in like the flabbiness that you don't want. So it'll clear your mouth out for the next bite. It'll always just be really enjoyable. Um, Moving on to the second one, it should be sweeter. So if you have a sweet dessert or anything, it should be sweeter. So it's not saying like if it's dull, if it's like a chips, it doesn't have to be sweet. But like it's just saying if it's sweet, then you should find something sweeter. So you could have potato chips or something, and it could be really sweet or not as sweet. Like really, as long as it's sweeter than the thing you're having, you're okay. And if you're having something like ice cream for dessert, I wish you luck trying to find a bottle of wine that's sweeter. That'll be pretty hard, so good luck on that. Um, all right, moving on to the third one. So the same flavor intensity. So it doesn't mean they should taste the same. It means that you don't want it to like overwhelm the dish. So they should be nice complements of each other, and the flavors should work together to bring out like each other's flavors. They shouldn't take over one. So if you have a meal, like a dull meal, you shouldn't pair with a wine that's fantastical. or fantastic, sorry. Just pair it with something like kind of as dull, because you don't want it to like overtake the flavor. You want it to bring out each other's flavor. So that's my recommendation. All right, and then so these two are red wine should be paired with bolder meat, so like uh, beef, steak, like just red meats really. And then white wine should be paired with and like light meats like chicken and fish. I'll go over that in a second. You'll see why in a sec. Anyways, I like this one a lot. So bitter wines plus fat is a great combo. So you can see that like in the Ruffles and champagne example. So the chips are very fatty, very greasy, and then the champagne is a bit more bitter and like just sweeter and everything, and it really balances each other out. So I'd recommend doing that too. And then this one is also really important. So match to the sauce, not to the meat. So we saw that in the steak. We paired the steak sauce, not the actual steak itself. So we paired the steak sauce with a very like rich and powerful wine. And it just enriches the taste of the steak sauce. All right, so now what I was trying to get at the red wine and the bold meat and the white wine and the light meat. So red wine is what you call congruent, and whites are contrasting. So congruent means the pair creates like balance by amplifying shared like flavor components. So you're not then like obviously you're not trying to take away from anything. You're trying to latch onto the flavors and just amplify them. So these are combos that go well together. So like steak and sauce, like making that amplify those two. And then white wine, it means contrasting. So they create balance by contrasting tastes and flavors. So like I don't know if you try chicken and applesauce, that's always really good. Or like pickles and peanut butter. I know it sounds weird, but like that's what it kind of is. You're just contrasting the flavors to make the taste that you'd like. All right, so let's move on to my final statement here. Alright, so I really wanted to make the meals go from the lightest palate to the heaviest, so you don't get weighed down and full before you have like the main courses and the dessert. And then I also picked the more acidic wines. More acidic wines balances food very well, and it just doesn't create like a flabbiness that coats your mouth. And then the portions, it really depends on personal preference. Some people enjoy having like many cups of wine per meal. Some people enjoy just one. Either way, it'll pair well together. It's just your decision on how much you want to consume when you're having a meal. So if you want to have, 3 glasses for a dish, that's okay. If you want to have 1 glass, it's okay. If you want to have a sip, it's okay. It's your personal preference. Anyways, here are my citations. Thank you so much for watching. I know we've seen a lot of wine presentations. I know it's getting a bit old. But yeah, that's why I just really want to thank you for taking the time to pay attention to this. Have a nice day.